Hello everyone and welcome to Season 7, Episode 19 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in CHIKARA history with match number 32 on our list, which is a second round match in the Tag World Grand Prix tournament between Team DDT of KUDO and MIKAMI and Team K-DOJO of Yoshiaki, Yago, and MIYAWAKI from the CHIKARA Tag World Grand Prix 2006 Night 1 event held on February the 24th of 2006. This is the first video I've done in a little while. I've been incredibly busy with work and being a parent, but now I've got some extended time off during the holiday season, so expect the episodes to come fast and furious. But with that out of the way, this is a match between a lot of wrestlers with capitalized names, but seriously, this is an incredibly exciting bout, and really, unlike a lot of CHIKARA matches that you've seen, this is two Japanese import tandems on a grand stage for CHIKARA at the time, having a really, we'll say, like indie pro res, kind of Japanese style tag match that just starts with kind of a bit of a slow build and escalates into violence and this incredibly hot finishing streak that the crowd becomes unglued for. Just want to say, that the Tag World Grand Prix 2006 was, in my opinion, one of the, pinnacles of CHIKARA. The Tag World 2005 was really what exposed a lot of people to CHIKARA. And then, throughout 2005 with the whole Kings of Wrestling storyline, and that all kind of built, to this Tag World Grand Prix 2006. And it was so incredibly exciting. I remember sitting at home, being called the results, the night of, and going online and posting them on all of the message boards. And, if you're a younger, person watching this video, that might seem so foreign at this point, but you got to think this was a time when not everything was live streamed, or that we had, social media apps and data on our phone that we could just go on Twitter and post results. I actually had, Big Joe Lucia, shout out Big Joe, hope you're doing well, but had him, in the arenas, for this tournament, calling me on his cell phone after every match so I could go on a message board and write the results. And that feels like a lifetime ago, when I guess in some ways it was, being almost 17 years ago now, but at the same time, it also feels like yesterday. But this match, like I said, it was incredibly exciting. The DDT guys, DDT kind of started to really gain notoriety and momentum, I'd say, around 2003, when MIKAMI participated in the Differ Cup tournament, ended up wrestling, opposite Kenta, and he was kind of like this Japanese Jeff Hardy that, would take a ladder around with him, a ladder whom actually became the hardcore champion at one point in DDT and had a retirement ceremony, and all of that was, really well circulated amongst the tape trader community back in the early 2000s online, of which I was a part. So I was familiar with them. KUDO, he kind of exploded in 2005, same thing, ended up in the Differ Cup, opposite, Kenta, and I believe Marufuji was Kenta's partner actually for Differ Cup 05, but maybe a little hazy there. But KUDO and a young Kota Ibushi, who at that point we didn't know the proper pronunciation of his name. We didn't know if it was Ibushi, Kota Ibushi, Ifushi with an F. There was all of these different spellings until we eventually got it right. But they made a big splash in the Differ Cup 05. KUDO did his first US tour, did a lot of CHIKARA dates, IWA Mid-South dates, IWA East Coast dates. He was kind of turning up all over the place. So this was kind of his big return, bringing MIKAMI over with him. But the real, surprise of Tag World Grand Prix 06 weekend was no doubt Team K-DOJO of MIYAWAKI and the legendary Yoshiaki Yago, who, if you did not watch CHIKARA, between 06 and 07, you may be completely unfamiliar with this wrestler, but he was basically like an ex-kickboxer, very rough around the edges, but just, an absolutely amazing attraction. This was his US debut on this night. In the first round, Team K-DOJO wrestled the Tomaselli brothers, the Iron Saints of Vito and Sal Tomaselli, wrestlers that, probably haven't heard of them, in a very long time, if ever, depending on, how long you've been an independent wrestling fan. But But Yoshiaki Yago just brutalized both of those guys, specifically Sal Tomaselli, and like hit him with these heart punches that were just absolutely grotesque. And I remember, my friend that was in the building just calling me and being like, this was the biggest like massacre I've ever seen this match. So in the second round, the live crowd was so hyped for this because you had, Yago and Miyawaki coming off their incredibly brutal, impressive debuts. KUDO and MIKAMI. KUDO's already been established as this crazy, martial artist, Ong Bak Thai ninja, Tony Jaa-esque, martial arts expert wrestler. So, I think that the impending showdown between Yago and KUDO had fans so excited they couldn't wait to see it. So, really smart booking with having this match, in the tournament. But one thing that I really liked here is, rather than build to this big showdown between Yago and KUDO, they kind of, had it right out of the gates. They knew that's what the fans wanted to see, and they waste no time with this big striking exchange, and Yago kind of wins out on that with the kicks, and then they tag out, and the match kind of resets a little bit, and then turns into his traditional tag match that, like I said, just builds and builds and builds to the climax. But they really used Yago like as almost a bit of an attraction in this match. Making his tags, he would come in and just start pulverizing dudes, and that would lead to his night 3 exhibition match with the Necro Butcher, which is kind of a famous Chikara match as well. But they used Yago really well here, and DDT spent a lot of time working over Miyawaki. Miyawaki had some like great offense fighting off both of them. He did this really swank like Samoan drop, but as he had a guy on his shoulders at a fireman's carry, he ran and did like a basement drop kick in the corner and hit the Samoan drop at the same time. It was a really awesome move that someone definitely needs to steal because it blew me away, watching it 16 plus years later. They do, a really good job, the K-DOJO duo does, of working over KUDO's leg. Lots of brutal leg kicks from Yago. MIKAMI ends up getting a hot tag and comes in with this crazy offense. It's a big, like, Dick Togo-esque, back senton, hitting a Dick Togo move on the K-DOJO guys with that whole, like, Kai and Tai connection there was, not lost on me. And he hits a big 450 splash, but they build to this amazing, like, all 4 men are down spot where he runs into, like, a sick lariat from Miyawaki. KUDO hits this, like, crazy, kick combo to knock Miyawaki down. Yago drops KUDO on the top of his head with a disgusting dragon suplex, and KUDO like no sells it and hits a crazy like flying knee to take Yago down, and the crowd just becomes completely unglued at this point and gives them a standing ovation midway through the match. And it really shows how captivated they were by like the violence, which is really something that you wouldn't see a lot out of Chikara. Like I said, this match for Chikara being a promotion that through the years would work with so many different Japanese promotions, all of the Joshi promotions and Dragon Gate and Big Japan and Osaka Pro, just all of the partnerships that they had, often you would see these matches be like the Chikara stars against the imports. An exception to that is the Joshi tag match that I had a couple of episodes ago from King of Trios 2012. So this match, very similar to that, with just, really giving the people what they want and taking people that are at least somewhat familiar with each other. And if they're not, at least they speak the same language and allow them to go out and tear the house down and have a barn burner together. There's an awesome spot where Miyawaki gets KUDO in a half crab, and after all the leg work, it seems like it could be the finish, and he's no-selling all of these punches from MIKAMI and spits in his face, which gets a big ooh from the crowd, and MIKAMI comes running in, and Yago like flies like from off camera with this crazy spinning wheel kick to take him out, but KUDO's able to get to the ropes. KUDO does this awesome spot too where Miyawaki goes for the big lariat again, and KUDO like flips around it, like something like you'd see Will Ospreay use now. But again, this was 2006, so KUDO out there innovating spots, in his day. But he counters that into a schoolboy for a great near fall. Yago just completely ruins him with mixed strikes and the heart punches and all of that stuff. But ends up eating like a big spin kick to the face. It allows, the DDT duo to isolate Miyawaki. and MIKAMI hits the big swanton bomb, you know, that Jeff Hardy influence, and it's followed up with a KUDO, you know, tie knee stomp, the double knees from the top, and that's enough for 3. And the crowd, you know, is so receptive to these guys. Again, another standing ovation, you know, as they all accept their praise at the end of the match. This is just, you know, a pure, straight up, brutal, fun, exciting wrestling match. You know, there's not a lot of story into it outside of it being part of this, you know, tournament, and this being the U.S. debut for 3 of these men, the Yago attraction, and, you know, KUDO really cementing his place as one of those unheralded, you know, Japanese indie stars of the early 2000s. That's an era that's, I think, is really, really forgotten about because, again, you know, we didn't have all the streaming services. We didn't have Wrestle Universe where you could watch DDT on, and, you know, Big Japan didn't have a streaming service and everything like that, you know, back in these early 2000s. So it was really, you were either a tape trader, maybe you came across a Mega Upload link, shout out Mega Upload, RIP, you know, at the time. But if not, you had no way of seeing these matches or knowing who these guys were. So, you know, it was really awesome for CHIKARA to do what they did and bring, you know, shine a spotlight on so many of these Japanese indie promotions at the time. And, you know, when I think of the legacy of CHIKARA, that's certainly one thing that I will think of fondly. You can watch this match, of course, on independentwrestling.tv. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again next time as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.